Hi everybody, Dr. Pedram Shojai back with you at the Health Bridge. We are here with Dr. Sarah Gottfried. Hello, Sarah.
Hey Pedram, hi everybody.
Hello. We have guests today and we're excited to share them with you because these guys I'm very jealous of. Mira and Jason Colton, who are super duper experts in nutrition and really have a very deep, profound understanding of micronutrient deficiency and all kinds of smart stuff. That stuff we'll kind of get into later. My favorite part about their story is they went and explored the world. They went to villages in like far remote places and found medicines that we hadn't even heard of, and they started bringing back. So they're kind of like modern day science Indiana Jones types. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, both of you guys. It's great to see you guys.
Yeah, you guys did it, right? A lot of people talk about doing it, but you guys actually did it. And so I would love to hear what that was like, because our audience a lot of times, they're driving in their cars and they're, trying to like get through their days and figure out how to get the kids from school and all that kind of stuff. And we all talk about doing it, right? And then once in a while we get out of town once in a while and play, but you guys actually like untethered. And
yeah, this part, I think, Pedram, is the part you're jealous of, that they were able to untether and like have this incredible adventure. So we're all like dying to hear the story.
Well, we basically kept, even when we first started dating, the whole thing was like, okay, I challenge you to move in with me. And the person was like, okay. And then it's like, then I challenge you to marry me. It almost kind of felt like that. And we just kept playing this game. Like, how far could we push our lives out of our comfort zone? Because I'm a really organized person that likes everything in a box. And so we just kept doing this. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, let's go on a 100-day honeymoon. We're like, okay. And then let's just not come back. And it just turned into this, oh my God, we're finding out so many cool things and we're stretching ourselves in ways that we didn't know that either of us could. And it was so fulfilling that we literally stayed away for 7 years just trying to see how much we could discover and how much we could learn about ourselves and nutrition and the world around us while we were doing it. And it was, it was an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, we didn't have any real time constraints when we started off. Like Mira said, the 100 days was kind of what we started with, and we figured, well, let's just see where it goes. But yeah, we couldn't stop. Once we started, we were like, you know what? Now that we're out of this, and we didn't want to go back, and we didn't feel we were ready to jump back, and I didn't want to jump back into doing nutrition. I kind of got out of that in 2001. Which is a little bit
I was just feeling better finally. So I was like, I'm not going back to work. Yeah. I really want to see. And like one place would lead us, we'd like meet a guide. And he was like, well, I used to be a guide in the Amazon. You should call my friend, blah, blah. And then we'd have to like contact that person. And then we'd go down there. And one thing just led to another.
Yeah. So it was great. It was a great adventure.
What? So you guys... Oh, you've been on this honeymoon now for how long? So 2001. So this is like a 13-year honeymoon.
No, well, we started this in 2005 together. 2005 started the Colton Project. That's what we called this 7-year expedition, and it ended basically 2012. So.
Okay, but I've been with you guys, and I would say you're still on a honeymoon. That would be my impression.
But
when you travel around like that and you sort of like learn who the other person is, we got so, you really had to count on the other person. If you don't leave that person's side. When we've been in countries and in places where, those men who had seen me were like, I haven't seen anything like that yet. And like I went to one place, actually, this is a true story.
Tell the Antarctica story?
No, that one's funny too. But no, we were in Papua New Guinea and we went to this one tribe where the culture is to grab a woman if she's by herself, drag her behind whatever, force her into sex, and then to leave. And that's 100% part of the culture. Ooh. And they've actually come up with a very natural form of birth control. So there's actually not a problem with high birth rates or anything occurring because of this. But I was like, you're not leaving my side. I'm like, this is a place I'm not going anywhere without you, to the ladies' room, as if there was a ladies' room. But we got so used to being with each other that now we just really feel more comfortable always being together. So that's why the honeymoon carries on, I guess. Yeah.
It's interesting how that culture from New Guinea has now made it into the Greek system on most college campuses. Which just gross, right? And it's weird that that is okay anywhere, right? But, you know, it's nice to have a partner in crime. I traveled a lot through India and, you know, just Nepal and all these places. And every once in a while I'd run into a female that was traveling alone. And the first thing she'd do when she realized I was like a safe person from the West was be like, hey, I'm traveling with you. Because these guys keep grabbing me, right? Yeah. It was like, yep, you're with me. You're under my protection. You're under my sphere. And it was just like, wow, that kind of sucks. You know, it's not fair.
Yeah. Well, we always had guides, and of course, you know, we were always fully protected and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, anything can happen. Yeah, we were in Antarctica one time at a base camp there. Of course, you know, men get very lonely, and I think what base camp was?
The
Chilean base camp. We were there with an astronaut friend of ours, and anyway, so we were on top of the mountain, and a whole bunch of these Chilean men started running up, like 20 of them. And
we have photos. It's the funniest thing because we were just taking nice, you know, pictures of the couples on top of a glacier, and all of a sudden they had seen us from far away, and they had seen the two women. You know, we took off all of our heavy gear, and now we're just in like normal clothes.
No,
and
you were in evening.
We were actually in evening gowns, to be honest. And they hadn't seen that in a really long time. And we got pictures of like the biotic men running up the hill. So it's crazy.
Yeah. So it was fun. And of course, I mean, those are the fun times. There's plenty of times when we're in the mud and eating, you know, everything you can imagine. With people who have never bathed and don't even know what clothes are. So, you know, there's the glamorous side of it, and then there's the hard,
the more remote areas.
Yeah.
So, Jason and Mira, I wonder, what is your most stunning discovery from that 7-year adventure? Like, what really stands out in terms of a aha moment when it comes to, you know, just really changing health or helping people with changing their health?
For me, it wasn't an aha moment. It was this sense that I got from every community that I went into that was healthy. And it was an overwhelming hug. I mean, that's the one great way of describing it. You really felt taken care of, like you had a purpose. Even as a guest, that was your purpose, and they wanted to show you everything, and they wanted to teach you their language, like within, you know, a matter of minutes of being there, and show you how to make the food so you can get your hands in there and learn it as you're going. And that to me was what I miss most about the travels. I miss going into a place and automatically knowing that the people there care about each other, and that they're going to take care of the sick, and that they're going to be healthy because they're eating their own traditional ancestral ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what Mira's saying is absolutely true. I think that, and that's we try to carry this through with our teaching, and, you know, we have a very kind of a long-term plan as to how we want to bring our teachings out through our books and through our podcasts and shows and things. And one of those things is to try to make health effortless, because that's really and truly how it was. Nobody was trying to be healthy where the people we found who were where they were the healthiest. It was something that was just happening, and it was happening. You know, food was a small component of that. We focus on those foods. We focus on the micronutrients because that's something tangible we can teach back here in America and in Europe and other areas. But in all reality, it was really about that relationship they had with the food, with their environment, and with each other. I think that's really, really important. And some of the oldest living people we met, well into their hundreds, we would ask them, you know, why do you think you're living this long? And, you know, a lot of the excuses or the reasons why weren't, I eat better than anybody else, but it's because I have a purpose. I have a job here. You know what? They can't live without me.
I'm the best person at doing this.
Yeah. And that's something we don't talk a lot about in nutrition or holistic nutrition or in health in general. We try to figure out what is it that I'm not doing that I could do that I'm going to live and be healthy.
It's not a magic bullet.
It's not so much about that. I mean, you know, obviously there's things that need to be in place, like the micronutrients. But, you know, assuming you get those down, there's other things that are important too.
Okay, so this is juicy. I'm really loving this. I want to kind of hang out here for a second, because it seems that in the West, we've been so derailed by the Monsantos and all these kind of like Franken-food makers that like food has messed us up so bad that all we worry about is food, because it seems like we just can't get any real food to kind of power the engine. But it sounds like the places that you guys have been, and you know, I've had many similar instances where, you know, it's just comes from the land, and there is no unnatural out there, right? And so when you are back to kind of nature's food, you feel better, and you're busy just living life, right? And life happens and health happens because it's like, oh, let's go visit so-and-so in that village, and you walk 12 miles to get there.
Right.
And you don't think about it. It's not exercise. It's
fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually remember we were doing some barefoot medicine in these villages in Nepal, and I said, hey, listen, I need these things. We ran out of supplies, and they're like, okay, we'll send a kid to go get it. And I turn around like 2 hours later going, hey, what happened to that kid? They're like, well, he'll be back. So where did you send him?
Right.
And he said the village that they sent him to was 18 miles away, so he had to go there and back to go get something.
No big deal for them.
It was just all in a day's work. And I said,
Yeah.
God, we like get so proud of ourselves. Like if I did that, I'd call myself an Iron Man, And this kid was just transportation.
For them, it's nothing. I think what we found in our travels, we tried to get some statistics. 9 miles a day was average for the remote tribes. So that's what they're walking or just moving around 9 miles a day.
Wow. That puts us to shame. I've got my up on, and I'm like happy if I get 5 miles.
Yeah, well, 5 is great.
Yeah. It was, the physical movement was fantastic, but also just the fact that food sort of, food was exactly it was just what you were going to eat. It was just what was there. And it came from all sorts of sources. There wasn't a hierarchy of what was, tasty or it was whatever they had. If they caught that fish, that's the fish you ate. They didn't say, I'd like to try the salmon today, and is the tuna fresh? It's not. It's whatever they happened to catch that afternoon came to the plate, and then as many people as were there, all shared it. It didn't matter if we were extra faces at the table. We got to eat too. Mm-hmm. And it was just that, general, what we get from this earth is for all of us to share.
Right. Yeah, and that's a good point, and we could talk a little bit about that too, because once we moved from the remote areas, so we did remote, semi-remote, and then urban, and we tried to do them kind of in some kind of an order so that we could see the real differences that were occurring, both in their health and their physical appearance and what have you. And once you move into those semi-remote areas, then money starts to come into play. Right, so now it's not only where the food's starting to change and the food starts to become a little bit more processed and is brought in from other areas, but now I'm eating what I can afford. This wasn't happening again in the remote areas. So now I've got so much money, so I'm going to buy the cheapest things. Right, so I'm buying the more processed foods. Of course, that carries on into the urban areas and into people today. Now people go to the grocery store and say, well, I buy what I can afford, and oftentimes they don't eat the most micronutrient-rich foods because they say they can't afford them. So that's a sad state of affairs when money starts to dictate how people can eat and whether or not they can get those vital micronutrients. Amazingly, in the place where there's no money, they've got it all.
So Pedram, I feel like this is really part of the message at well.org is kind of the power of money and how we can use it to our advantage. We can use it to promote health and wellness and vitality, or we can let it erode our health, which is what has certainly happened here in the United States. So I thought you were going to dog to bone with that one.
I was just recalling why I love these guys so much.
Oh yes.
Our whole thing is you vote with your money. So if you spend your money on the bad guys, you're putting them in power. And if you put your money into local, clean, organic produce from people that you can trust that are putting love into your food, you're supporting them, you're supporting their families, and you're supporting that world. And so one of the favorite resources we have, and I'd love for you guys to talk about this a little bit, is you guys have this resource called Rich Food, Poor Food, and a shopping guide, so you can kind of train people to go to the grocery store and know what to look for so that you can make better informed food decisions. And I'd love to just have you share that a little bit with our audience.
Yeah, I mean, for us, micronutrient density of food is so important. That's half of it. You want to find the most micronutrient dense food that also has the fewest poor food or potentially dangerous ingredients in it. Those things you can't pronounce on the label. So we knew that everyone kept writing us and saying, well, where did you find these foods? And I understand then where to get them in the organic food aisle. But where did you get them, say, like in the pasta aisle? Or how do I get that same thing out of a potato chip for my kids because they still want that stuff? So we created what we call a GPS, or a grocery purchasing system, which takes the reader through every single aisle from dairy all the way through the ice cream aisle. And basically, we have the best choices for the most micronutrient ones in every single aisle. We tell you how to pick them, what to look for, what are the words to watch out for in each aisle that are generally hiding there. And we got great response. I mean, everything is GMO-free in it. Everything is sugar-free in it. Everything is wheat-free in it.
So gluten-free
So gluten-free. And, you know, there's no MSG allowed. There's no artificial colors allowed.
No hormones, no pesticides.
Yeah, we really wrote this for the average person who just wants to know what to buy anymore because it's just too complicated. There's 40,000 things in the grocery store. 80% have GMOs. And they don't know what to buy, what's safe anymore because the manufacturers are getting really smart and they're starting to hide it under all sorts of names. And every time you learn a name, they change the name.
Right.
And that's just a legal loophole they can do. So yeah, we love the book. I mean, it's one of our favorite things to tell, you know, new mothers or to give to your mother who, you know, might not know all these things yet.
Yeah, this is a great way. If you have a loved one, you've got somebody that you've been trying to kind of get the message of health across to, but they haven't really been listening so well. Get them a copy of Rich Food, Poor Food, put it on their kitchen counter, and believe me, with their morning coffee, whatever their tea, they'll start flipping through it. It's full color, high gloss, and they'll just start to learn things aisle by aisle, and they'll start to come to you and say, hey, did you know that there's cellulose in shredded cheese? And you'll be like, yeah, I read the book. But let them talk because this is their way that they're going to think they've learned something.
In fact, my sister came to me and asked me, did you know there was cellulose in cheese?
It's like, we wrote the book. Yeah, we know. But because it's good, you know? And it's a great way to really bring about the conversation of health, especially for young kids. We a lot of kids, 10, 12 years old, they love flipping through it. There's a lot of fun facts in there. Like,
we worked with a high school with the book, and they did really, really, really well with it because then they get to be little investigators and go home and, you know, call mom and dad out and say, did you see what we have in here? And I love that. I mean, I think when the kid pleased, the parents really start to pay attention.
Yeah.
There's a really powerful message that I just want to kind of highlight that came out of what you guys just said. And it's this kind of egalitarian messaging that we need to allow. There's this tendency to say like, well, oh no, I know health, you don't know health, so let me one up you in health. Or no, I do yoga, therefore I'm more spiritual than you, right? And this weird kind of ego we take on when it comes to all this stuff because we need identity. And what we really need to do is allow people into the party. So I really like that, and I want to kind of take my hat off to you there if I were wearing one, because I think that's a very pure message, and it's about having more people into the health party and not, you know, acting like we know better than anybody.
Yeah, and the same thing with type of diet people follow. One of our big things is, you know, a diet philosophy is that it's your personal diet philosophy. And it's really deep-seated in people. And it's no one's business. And no one should be saying, well, you know, my diet's better than yours, I'm vegan, or mine's better than yours, I'm paleo. Really, you know, this is what they're doing right now. And if it feels good to them, let them be right now. Why fight with each other? We've got big agro. We've got big pharma. We've got a lot of people to fight with. It's not between the diets.
Yeah. Mm. So if anybody sorry, go ahead, please.
Oh, Jason, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, if anybody's read Naked Calories, we call that the Nutrivore philosophy. So, you know, we allow you to keep your dietary philosophy, but we have one called the Nutrivore philosophy that you can kind of plug into yours. And it just means that you understand that getting enough of the essential micronutrients should be the foundation of your health. So it's what you're looking for in food. Whatever kind of food it is, if it's plant-based, get the most micronutrients. If it's paleo, get the most micronutrients.
I love that. I love Nutrivore. I think that's a fantastic word for our lexicon. Now, I want to get back to this point you made about, you know, kind of your biggest discovery on the adventure that you went on starting in 2001, your 7-year honeymoon. You talked about something that really intrigues me, which is that people didn't try to get healthier, they just were. There was this invisibility or, you know, kind of this grace that happened with the way that some of these indigenous cultures were eating. And I feel like, you know, of course, first I thought of the Yoda quote. Pedram, what's that Yoda quote? No try, do. What's the
do or do not, there is no try.
That's right.
See, I knew you could rock it for me. I knew I could count on you for that.
You do Yoda?
It's my entire childhood. Oh, can you do Yoda? Because I failed once on the Be More Sofa series.
Oh, I don't know.
Right, he's shy. He does all the time.
Well, this invisibility, I just want to talk about how else can our listeners create that invisibility where it just doesn't feel like they're slogging up the mountain, you know, like Sisyphus, just like, one foot in front of the other. And then, you know, you like push the rock up the mountain and then it mows you over at night. Like, how do you create that invisibility? You know, it sounds like your GPS is one strategy, and I want to make sure that we get it on our resource page at healthbridgeshow.com/resources. What else can we do?
Well, I mean, first of all, they're not surrounded by toxins. So, I mean, they're not getting any of that exposure. So just getting that out of your life makes it so you're not going to have that cloud of toxins literally weighing your body down all day long. Some of it's an attitude thing. I mean, we really, for us, we're taking this year in sort of a different light, and we're sort of looking at how can we ensure our happiness?
Like Bhutan. We're really going with the happiness factor in our company now.
Yeah, I mean, we decided, like, if we're not happy, then we're not going to eat well. We're going to be, you know, putting all this negative energy in our body, as our work is going to be bad. And all that stuff makes you sick. So really taking the time to figure out what makes you happy. I mean, in the tribes, the guy who likes making the shoes, he makes the shoes. And the person who really likes fishing, fishes. So learn what you love to do and give yourself the opportunity to do that and really spend some time enjoying that. I mean, that's one of the things that we're really focused on. We make a plan now to actually say, okay, we need this time to go do X or Y. We have to schedule it because that's going to make us happier and it's going to make us live a healthier life.
Yeah, it's kind of like the saying, you know, what's worse, never tasting chocolate or having tasted it and you can never eat it again. Having traveled to these places and really experienced, and I love the way that you said it, kind of the grace of total health, which they were able to do effortlessly, it's hard because how do we recreate that back here?
It is difficult.
And it's really one of the hardest things that we've had to kind of try to deal with. We're like, we're just really want to go back to that, but we feel we have a job to do here. So how do we do that? How do we get across the message of health and write the books and run, as you know, running these companies are not, it might look easy, but it is not easy, right? So these are 10 to 16-hour days, day after day, week after week, year after year. We're ready to write our next book, which I kind of relate to climbing Mount Everest again, you know. So how do we get that? And like Mira was saying, it was the happiness factor, really trying to get that in your life.
Simplify as much as you can.
Yeah.
I mean, really, when you don't have so many things calling for your attention, you can really, you breathe easier. I mean, you just need that space around you, I think.
But for us, the reason we start with the nutrition end of it is because if you don't have your nutrition, no matter how good your environment is, you can never be healthy. So we figure let's start there. And as you start to become aware, as you go through the grocery store and you start this education, you know, what in the world is a GMO? And we hope people, you know, maybe they start avoiding it in the store and then they go watch a movie about it, or they see a documentary, or they read something about it and they start to realize, wait a minute, I didn't know I was being, you know, attacked by these GMO companies like Monsanto and others. And then they start to read about, you know, dairy, let's say, and they just say, what are these hormones that are being pumped into the cow? And so the education just starts, and then it makes them want to go out and say, well, I want to go meet my farmer. I want to go find out where my food is. And that starts the relationship with food, and it just grows from there. But I think you have to start from that nutrition spot and teaching them what's wrong so that they have the opportunity to start to understand what's right.
So taking a snapshot of these happy villagers, it's almost like two sides, right? One is they're not saddled with the endocrine disruptors. They're not saddled with, you know, the deodorant, and sometimes you wish they had it, but they're, you know, just all the nasty stuff that we expose ourselves to every single day that put a chemical burden on that really challenge our bodies, right? So I guess, you know, one side of this would be, you know, you got to clean up your act, look at the stuff that you're bringing into your house, stop poisoning yourself wherever you can. And there's no stone left unturned. And Sarah and I talk about this till we're blue in the face. But the other side that I really think that you guys have kind of the global edge on in terms of like piercing this and really kind of making this argument is about micronutrients and the density of micronutrients and what that comes from, because they're also eating plants that are coming from a natural environment that are filled with nutrition, where we're eating monocrops from topsoil that's been killed, you know, generations deep. So what is a micronutrient, and how do we go about fixing this deficiency? Because, I mean, we've talked about this, you know, leading to weight loss and all kinds of crazy things, right?
Right. So there's two types of food. It's not just calories. Calories come from fats, and proteins and carbohydrates, and the micronutrients are the other side of that equation, and those are, of course, the vitamins, the minerals, the essential fats, and the amino acids. And this is what gets stripped out of food so easily by heat, air, and light, and by anything you do to it, any kind of cooking method you do to it. That's why we call our book Naked Calories, because we think that people are eating foods that have been stripped of the micronutrients, and they're just left with calories.
So it's interesting that so many people are going after crash diet, wondering how they need to just suffer to restrict calories and all this calorie counting. I mean, I've never been down for the calorie counting. It's so boring. And you know, it's obviously there's some math that works out there, but now we're realizing that metabolism shifts and you could consume calories differently. We just did a show with Dave Asprey about that. But now what we're also hearing is these empty calories from you guys is that if the micronutrients aren't there, the body is still saying, hey, dummy, go get me this. So then you keep eating more and more empty calories, or naked calories as you call them, so that you try to replace something that your body wants and it's just never coming in. So then you're more and more deficient and more heavy. Is that right?
Absolutely. That's why when people go on these detox diets and they limit what they're taking in, I'm like, please don't do that, because all you're going to do is deplete yourself even further. And these yearnings and these cravings, which are biologically bred into us to have enough of these micronutrients to keep our body running, they're going to become depleted, and they're going to say, hey, you got to eat something. And then you're going to go out and you're going to eat more food, and it never works. It just never works. Your body gets depleted of, say, calcium and magnesium, and that's going to start sugar and salt cravings. Your body gets rid of zinc, and then you can't taste anything. And then all of a sudden, that's why a lot of the elderly start to eat a lot more sugary and sweet, more flavorful foods, because they're deficient in their zinc levels. So as we become depleted, our body starts acting out in all these crazy ways because it needs those micronutrients to function.
Yeah.
This is such a good point. You know, it's also a foundation of functional medicine, the idea that micronutrient deficiency is so key to our health. And it's certainly a message that mainstream medicine hasn't been promoting the way that I think it could. Now, for our listeners who are saying, oh, this is why I'm fat. You know, I'm eating these empty calories. I'm stripped of the micronutrient density that I most need. What do they do? Like, can we give them some action items here?
Sure, we can give you some action items, but I do want to caution, don't go out and start just buying a whole bunch of the micronutrients that we start rattling off thinking, okay, this is going to fix my problem. These are micronutrients that have been shown to help, and mostly to kind of prevent obesity. In some cases, they have helped with increasing weight loss, but you need all the micronutrients. They work like an orchestra. So, you know, just because you like the clarinet and the violin doesn't mean that, you know, you can make Bach sound great with 2 instruments. You need all of them, okay? So, but let's talk about a few. So one of the big ones, I think, is vitamin C. Vitamin C, they did some research at Arizona State University, I think, and they showed that if you're deficient in vitamin C, you burn, get this, 25% less calories doing the same amount of work and when they're exercising than when a person is sufficient in vitamin C.
So that's just like, you know, why would you do it?
25% less.
Who wants to work out 25% more than the other person to get the same amount of calorie relief?
Yeah.
Additionally, you know, vitamin D, women who are vitamin D sufficient are on average 17 pounds less than women who are vitamin D deficient. That's another one that's fantastic for weight loss. And C also, if you're low in C again, it increases your cortisol levels. And cortisol levels, of course, are going to put around that little muffin top around your belly. So you don't want that either.
Yeah, that has the ability to store fat in your stomach area rather than in your hips. And of course, fat around the visceral area is just not as healthy as fat around our hips.
Muffin top.
Another thing Mira did touch on is the calcium and magnesium. Now, we've been big proponents of making sure that you get enough calcium and magnesium. And of course, most people don't, because even if they take a multivitamin most of the time, they don't give you the amount of calcium and magnesium that we need in order to become sufficient. We want that 400 milligrams of magnesium and at least 600 milligrams of calcium, maybe 1,000 over the period of a day. So those are going to be really linked to food cravings. If we can get rid of the food cravings, then we can start to control our appetite.
So all of these things have to do with supplementation, which is one great way. If you want big items that we can do to help build the sufficiency, I think is what Sarah was saying. Some big key items that we can do is, one is supplementation, proper supplementation, just to make sure you're getting the right amount of all your micronutrients across the level every single day. Now, supplementation is not alone. I mean, I think all of us agree that we're food first people and that we want people to eat better. So finding micronutrient-rich foods, finding micronutrients-dense foods, and choosing them over micronutrient-poor foods, I think that would be even a bigger message as the switch that everyone should make today. Pay attention to the egg on your plate. Pay attention to which type of pasta you buy or which type of fruit you get and where it was picked, how long ago it was picked. Get those micronutrient-rich foods into your stomach.
Yeah.
Boom.
Boom. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Love it.
Sounds like you just saved me a trip to New Guinea.
No, and I want to go back.
We should
We
bring
would
you to
totally
New Guinea.
love to go.
You would love New Guinea.
Oh, are you kidding me? Once this kid's a little older, we're going to take him everywhere. So yeah, it's, being untethered, I think, is also very psychologically rewarding and freeing. So it's a very powerful thing to be able to do at some point in your life.
We went to Amazon actually with a young boy who was only, I think, 6 at the time.
6 or 7, yeah.
And, I mean, played with all the little tribe kids, pulled the bugs' legs apart with all the other kids. I mean, they were having great times. And it wasn't scared of anything. So I'd say travel with your children because that's going to make them much wiser adults.
Oh, my God. What about all the germs?
Sure.
Mud.
Germ?
Yeah, but it's dirty out there. The world's so dirty. It's amazing how sheltered our children are, and as untethered as we want to be, look how tethered they are to their iPhones and their video game devices, and you realize, we got a lot of work to do for the next generation.
Yes.
Guys, we're out of time, and so I want to figure out how to get these wonderful resources to our tribe, but Sarah's got a sexy librarian moment brewing, and so let's get the recap. Yeah, let's get the recap real quick, and then we'll.
Yeah, I want to recap some of the wisdom that we've gotten today from the Coltons. So number one, I'm going to bring in this Yoda quote. I just love this idea that when you were on this extended honeymoon and you were traveling around the world, that you had this discovery that people weren't trying to be healthier. They just were. Can you do Yoda one more time? Maybe more in the Yoda voice, Pedram?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Perfect. Boom. Okay, number 2, become a nutrivore. I really love that language. Number 3, use GPS. So grocery purchasing system. We're going to get that to our resource guide so that our listeners can get it. And then number 4, I put in the 9 miles a day. I just think that is a really powerful challenge. Number 5, you talked about attitude. And, I think we'll have to have you back so that we can talk more about that attitude. The fisherman who loves to fish, like that's what he does in the village. The guy who loves to do the shoes, that's what he does because he's like in his gift, his flow.
Yeah.
Number 6, simplify. I love that from Mira. Number 7, avoid toxins. Number 8 was about micronutrient density and some of the ways that you can use food first to fill those micronutrient gaps and then also with supplementation.
True.
Love it. Guys, what's your website?
ColtonNutrition.com. CALTON Nutrition.com.
Awesome. And we're going to get gifts for our listeners, some of your free resource guides and stuff like that onto the healthbridgeshow.com. And we'll help you guys find these guys. Awesome work that you're doing. It's commendable because there's a lot of people out there hawking a bunch of vitamins that don't do anything for people. There's a lot of people out there just trying to make money off of people and health, and they're not living with right livelihood. And you guys are just warriors for doing the right thing. And every patient that I've ever put on your stuff does better, right? And we got labs to prove it. So you guys keep up the good work. You're great at what you do, and you're so fun to talk to.
Oh, thank you so much. It's great being on your show. Love the sexy librarian look.
Oh, glad you like that. So Jason and Mira, thank you so much. I just want to say ditto and piggyback on all the lovely things that Pedram said. We so appreciate what you're doing in the world.
Thank you so much.
Same way. Thanks, Sarah.
It's an honor to be on your show.
Thanks, guys. This has been the Health Bridge. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.